Okay. I'm going to call tonight's meeting to order. All rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now roll call.
Councilmember Murray.
Present.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Payne Donovan.
Present.
Mayor Matsumoto Wright.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wall.
Here.
Councilmember Sonmore.
Here.
Councilmember Woodard.
Here.
That concludes roll call.
We are all here. Do we have any late changes to the agenda?
Not this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And now next is public comment. Do we have any public comments?
No one has signed up in person, and no one requested online, and nothing came in the mail.
All right, thank you. So next is the consent calendar. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move to approve the consent calendar, items A through D.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And next is a proclamation for Women's History Month. And I'm going to have Audrey come. Audrey? Come on up over here. Is this already on? Okay. So I'm going to read the proclamation for Women's History Month in March. Whereas Women's History Month is observed nationally each March, and whereas Women's History Month had its origins as a national celebration in 1981 when Congress authorized the President to proclaim the week beginning March 7, 1982, as Women's History Week. Eventually, this became a month-long celebration of the contributions women have made to the United States, recognizing their achievements over the course of American history, and whereas this month offers opportunities to reflect on the progress made to advance women's equality, and reflect on the challenges and barriers women continue to face. And whereas in March, we celebrate women's access to education and health care, improvements to paid labor standards, and equal opportunities for women, and respect for their human. And whereas we continue to contemplate where more can be done. We all can work together to secure the rights and full potential of women, including lasting solutions to social, economic, and political issues that adversely affect them. And whereas the Mountlake Terrace City Council would like to highlight one of our local women leaders, Audrey Meyer. Audrey is a driving force for volunteerism and tree preservation in the city. She is the vice chair of the Recreation and Parks Advisory Commission, the primary leader of the Ivy League, a volunteer group in the Adopt a Park program, and was a part of the tree planting planning for numerous parks. She has been instrumental in Mountlake Terrace becoming a Tree City USA member, assisting staff in the development of the tree ordinance update and the Trees for Terrace program, and is currently working on a tree canopy inventory. And now, therefore, I, Kyoko Matsumoto Wright, Mayor of Mountlake Terrace, on behalf of the City Council, do proclaim March as Women's History Month and encourage our community to join us in celebrating the great contributions of women and girls to our city, state, and nation. Signed by the Mayor this 21st day of March, 2024, at the City of Mountlake Terrace, State of Washington. So, thank you so much for what you do, Audrey. Yes.
Where's Ricky to direct us? Yeah, everybody go.
We have some great volunteers in this city. All right. Next on our agenda is the presentation on the year-end police report with our Police Chief Pete Call and Commanders Mike Haynes and Scott King.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Pete Call, the Police Chief. I have next to me Commander Scott King, and next to him is Commander Mike Haynes. Before we get started, just a little brief overview. The 2023 year-end report reviews the goals along with an analysis of our progress toward achieving those goals. Additionally, the report presents 2023 crime statistics, calls for service, traffic enforcement efforts. Overall, the region has seen a significant increase in burglaries, auto theft, vehicle prowls, and retail theft. This resulted in increased calls for service, arrests, criminal cases being referred for prosecution. The city experienced a slight decrease in violent felony crimes in 2023. I'll emphasize it's a very slight decrease. Consistent numbers of domestic violence cases were referred to the prosecutor. The report also discusses city demographics with additional analysis of enforcement actions by race. The police department received reaccreditation status from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs during 2023 and continues to embrace technology to streamline and modernize policing efforts. The report highlights several of these efforts. Additionally, recruiting a new generation of officers has been a major focus during the year and continues to be. We continue to look for the best and brightest candidates. Cultural diversity is always a priority as well. You'll see some success stories in the pictures that we'll present to you shortly. And additionally, the report concludes with a case study involving a stolen vehicle that was involved in a serious injury collision. The suspects were identified and captured following an extensive search. Before we get started, a little piece of good news. I'll defer to Commander Scott King to tell you about a case we just successfully concluded yesterday.
Good evening. So yesterday, various locations in West Seattle and Lake City Way, the Mountlake Terrace Police Department, along with Seattle detectives and Metro SWAT, North Sound Metro SWAT and Seattle SWAT arrested 3 subjects involved with home invasion robberies, 2 of those being in Seattle, 1 of those being in Mountlake Terrace, that happened on January 15th. 2 of the subjects were booked into King County Jail. 1 was booked into Snohomish County Jail. I found out today the subject that was booked into Snohomish County Jail ended up with $1 million bail, which is great. And I just want to highlight the work our detectives did on this. They worked very hard for a couple months to figure out who these people were and to work with Seattle detectives to finally make the arrest. So it was very nice.
We won't belabor this, but you'll see it before you every time. It's our vision and mission statement. Also, that picture, I wish I still looked like that. I got a bit more gray hair from supervising these 2 fellows, so we'll keep that picture up there for a while. I want to emphasize one of the things we paid attention to this year is recruiting. You'll see some pictures of some new folks. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Our goals philosophy, again, still embracing the 6 pillars identified by President Obama way back a couple of years ago: building trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, technology, social media, community policing, crime reduction, training, education, officer wellness, and safety. Let's talk about some of our goals. These have remained the same for a couple of years. We're still working through them. There's a lot here. One of the goals is to utilize department resources effectively. We've embraced our unmanned aerial vehicle program, commonly known as drones, in an effort to leverage technology, increasing the safety of the officers in the community. We've emphasized traffic DUI enforcement. We've embedded an officer in the Violent Offenders Task Force run by the U.S. Marshals. We focus on community-oriented policing and outreach. We continue to utilize the embedded social worker program. It's been a great success. Continue to provide and promote outreach by cops and clergy. We just had a meeting last week with those folks. Now that the weather's nice, you'll see the e-bike program in the parks again. We participate in regional intelligence groups, collectively working with our partners throughout the region, and again, partnering with the U.S. Marshals Regional Violent Offender Task Force. We incorporate education and long-term solution strategies and enforcement, and we work with other city departments to maintain a clean and safe environment. Recruit and retain quality personnel. You'll see some success stories later on in the presentation. We maintain high standards for personnel selection. We provide opportunities for new challenges for personnel. Focus on succession planning. We've talked about this before. A lot of folks are retiring. A lot of folks will continue to retire, and we need to train and recruit and train the next generation of leaders. We maintain our auditing systems such as WASPIC accreditation, Spider Tech, command review of critical incidents, accreditation, Lexipol, and we operate a comprehensive and robust in-service training program. Finally, we focus on finding candidates of differing backgrounds. We seek to be original leaders and set examples of modern policing as it relates to community. We listen to community feedback, implement changes appropriate. We update and modify policy. We develop and promptly instruct internal training programs consistent with legislative mandates. There's been quite a few of those the past 3 years. I think you're all aware of that. Focus on fostering a culture of partnership with the community. Be as transparent as we can. Recognize community support and trust is paramount to our success. We try to be proactive in incorporating improvements and efficiencies in lieu of the wait-and-see approach. And of course, we always try to be fiscally responsible. I'll now turn the mic over to Operations Commander Haynes.
Good evening, Council. I'm Commander Mike Haynes, and I supervise the Patrol Division. I'll be giving you an overview of some of the statistics during the 2023 year. Burglaries and vehicle prowess saw a moderate increase in 2023. Despite our best efforts with emphasis patrols and education, we saw a near 100% increase in vehicle thefts. This is not unique to Mountlake Terrace, but is a regional problem. Washington currently ranks 3rd in the country for vehicle thefts per capita. There are several factors contributing to the problem. Recent legislative changes in regards to vehicle pursuits, social media trends, and challenges within the criminal justice system, specifically difficulty with booking juvenile offenders, and in addition to minimal consequences. In regards to DUI offenses, Patrol continues to focus on traffic safety as one of its core functions. As a result of this effort, officers arrested 105 individuals suspected of driving under the influence of intoxicants. Violent offenses saw a small decrease in 2023, but largely were consistent with recent years. Happy to report that overall Mountlake Terrace continues to be a very safe community. Domestic violence offenses also saw a small increase in 2023, but again, the number of offenses are generally consistent with recent years. Use of force. In 2023, officers had 30 total force encounters involving 58 officers. The number of officers involved is representative of our defensive tactics training program, which focuses on team tactics in order to minimize risk of injury to officers and individuals involved. The majority of individual force incidents were physical control techniques. Physical control is generally defined as using strength to overcome resistance, and is a very low level of force and is primarily used for non-compliant individuals. The remaining involved primarily less lethal options. We continue to operate a robust less lethal program, providing officers with options from the best tools available on the market to law enforcement today. There were no significant injuries reported in 2023 as a result of the use of force. Of the 30 individuals involved, only 5 were determined not to be under the influence of intoxicants or suffering from a behavioral health issue. The majority of individuals involved were men, and most were between the ages of 25 to 35 years. As always, all force incidents are extensively reviewed to verify our training program is appropriate. Officers are operating within policy and to be aware of any potential legal ramifications. All use of force was determined to be in compliance with department policy. 2023, we had a total of 1 vehicle pursuit, which I'll talk a little bit more about further on. We recognize the dangers associated with pursuits, and as a result, we have long been very conservative in our approach to vehicle pursuits. A legislative update in 2021 further restricted law enforcement from initiating pursuits. This had an adverse effect on our ability to apprehend individuals involved in nonviolent offenses, requiring probable cause for a violent offense only. Suspected offenders quickly learned that they could drive away and that there was little that we could do. Vehicle thefts, burglaries, and other property crimes all spiked when the law went into effect. In mid-2023, the law was modified to lower the standard to reasonable suspicion in lieu of probable cause for violent offense. This also had little to no effect on crime overall. Recently, as a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, Initiative 2113 was approved, further lowering the threshold to reasonable suspicion of a law violation. This goes into effect in June, which essentially will put us back to where we started prior to the law going into effect in 2021. We will revise our policy again to be consistent with law, best practice, and legal guidance. The single pursuit in 2023 involved multiple stolen vehicles ramming a storefront and burglarizing the businesses. Officers arrived on scene before the suspects fled. Once the officers were spotted, the suspects drove away in the stolen vehicles, and the officer initiated a pursuit of one of the stolen vehicles. The pursuit was quickly terminated by the supervisor due to not being consistent with department policy. There were a total of 5 complaints received and investigated in 2023, 2 of them being sustained. Both of these were initiated by the Department of Administration for Policy Compliance Audits. One of these was in regards to the pursuit that I just talked about. The overall lack of external complaints is very indicative of a very professional group of officers who were truly very service-oriented. The feedback we received from the community is overwhelmingly positive and speaks to a relationship of mutual respect and support. We continue to provide regular training to staff in regards to bias, harassment, and emotional intelligence. In addition, we have policies and evaluation systems in place to quickly identify and address any of these problems if they do arise. There were no complaints received in 2023 alleging bias. So our most recent demographics, and our enforcement numbers by race are consistent with our demographics. With that, I'll hand it over to Commander King.
All right. Hello again, and Commander Scott King. So in 2023, the police department reaccredited, fulfilling 145 professional standards set by the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. Accreditation is good for 4 years. The purpose of accreditation is to professionalize law enforcement industry by providing a review process for agencies to be certified as operating under industry best standards and practices. I would like to recognize Joey Worthen as our accreditation manager and all the hard work she put into accreditation. Technology overview. Our drone program continues to grow and has become increasingly more relevant in our daily operations. The department purchased and deployed body-worn cameras in 2023. We upgraded our fingerprint system from old traditional roll and ink to a live scan device, which directly connects to the Washington State Patrol's latent print database. The department also purchased 2 mobile fingerprint scanners that we use in the field. We continue to utilize the SpiderTech platform, which provides valuable feedback from the community, which helps us focus on the community's priorities. The department launched a RAP program. The RAP is a body restraint designed for controlling individuals in crisis while reducing the risk of injury to both the subject and the officers. Continued technology review. So SpiderTech enables law enforcement agencies to automatically send text messages or emails and mobile-friendly surveys to crime victims, reporting parties, and other members of the community. The messages are triggered by RMS and CAD and friendly data. Command staff receives these responses and can address the community's needs or concerns. Staffing overview. Luther Russell and William Wigan graduated the Basic Law Enforcement Academy in 2023 and successfully completed field training. Both are currently assigned to Graveyard Patrol. Angelica Rivera was hired as the Police Support Specialist, and Marlena Moran was hired as a Records Specialist. New officers hired. Abdallah Anslar was hired as a certified lateral. He came to us from King County. Abdallah is from Jordan, and he speaks Arabic and English. Abdallah is currently in field training. Kirill Van Orman was hired as a certified lateral. Kirill is from the Ukraine. Kirill speaks Ukrainian, Russian, Hebrew, French, and English. Kirill completed his field training and is assigned to Graveyard Patrol. Scott Colville is a new hire, and he is set to graduate from the Basic Law Enforcement Academy on March 26th. And Jeffrey Zarnick is a new hire, and he started the Basic Law Enforcement Academy on March 19th, just a couple days ago. Promotions in 2023. Megan Sheets was promoted to our detective sergeant. Sergeant Sheets is our first female sergeant, and she was also in charge of the home invasion robberies that just happened. Eugene Shin was promoted to sergeant. Sergeant Shin is currently assigned to Graveyard Patrol, and Sergeant Shin is our first Korean-American sergeant. This is our organizational chart. The command services operation, the services commander and operations commander and management analyst report directly to the chief of police. The special services sergeant and detective sergeant report to the command services commander. The special services sergeant supervises the records unit and the police services specialist and animal control. The detective sergeant supervises the detectives, which also includes one of the detectives who's assigned to the Violent Offenders Task Force. The evidence, she also supervises the evidence tech and the domestic violence coordinator. The 4 patrol sergeants report to the operations commander. Each of the patrol sergeants supervise 4 officers. 3 of the officer spots you see on the organizational chart there represent 2 officers who are in field training and 1 who's at the Basic Law Enforcement Academy. Department training. We continue to have a robust training program. All officers are required to complete a minimum of 24 hours of training each year. This is mandated by the state. Additionally, there are specific trainings which are mandated. Crisis intervention, bloodborne pathogen, hazardous materials, fire extinguisher, firearms qualifications, emergency vehicle operations, force response and deadly force, vehicle pursuit, 24-hour patrol tactics, and less lethal weapons. The police department has several certified instructors. Some of those are defensive tactics instructors, patrol tactics instructors, crisis intervention, emergency driving, taser, impact munitions, and BOLA-RAP. We have an enhanced training. The police department provides some generalized training through the use of webinars, training bulletins, and shift briefing training. The police department has had several training accomplishments in 2023. I'll highlight a couple of those. We sent detectives to background investigations to assist us with the hiring process. We hired 4 officers in 2023 to get us back up to staff. We also sent officers to crisis intervention training, which is better equipping our officers to assist the community members in crisis. Why it's not changing here. Additional training, we sent people to first level supervision and individuals in crisis. There we go. Okay, more training accomplishments. We purchased body-worn cameras in 2023. Because of this, we trained all of our officers in the use of body-worn cameras. We also sent detectives to homicide investigation. When we bring a new officer up to being a detective, we send them to that training. The detective unit has 1 detective sergeant, Megan Sheets, and 2 detectives, Victor Zuniga and Thomas Sheets. Officer Chuck Elrod has recently been assigned to the detective unit and is set to start April 5th. "136 cases were investigated in 2023. This is a breakdown of those cases. Earlier in the presentation, there was a graph for violent crimes, which included homicide, rape, robbery, felony assault, and kidnapping. In 2023, we had 0 homicides, 5 rapes, 5 robberies, 6 felony assaults, and 0 kidnappings. So this is a case study about a stolen car. The initial call came out on October 21st, 2023 at 5:01 a.m. Patrol was dispatched to report of a red sedan stolen from the Northern Light Apartments. As Officer Fee arrives in the area, she can see a collision involving the suspected stolen vehicle, a red Kia sedan. She sees the occupants of the stolen vehicle flee from the scene. Mountlake Terrace had 205 stolen vehicles in 2023. A significant number of those vehicles were Kias and Hyundais. They can be easily started with a USB to replace the key, as you see in the picture there. These made those vehicles easy targets for criminals. Officer Fee arrived at the collision to find a red Kia and gold Saturn crashed at the intersection at 212th Street Southwest and 44th Avenue West. The investigation found the gold Saturn had been driving safely westbound on 212th Street Southwest when it was T-boned by the red Kia as it was fleeing from the Northern Lights Apartments. The driver and passenger of the red Kia fled north from the accident while the driver of the Saturn was extracted by medics and transported to Harborview. Officers set a perimeter in an attempt to locate the suspects. Once the perimeter was set, a K-9 track was started. The K-9 team located the 2 suspects at the Embassy Suites, which was near the accident location. The 2 suspects were detained until a witness positively identified them as the 2 who had fled from the Kia. One of those 2 was identified as a suspect who had been involved in a serious assault which had occurred earlier in the year. Both suspects were placed under arrest and transported to the police department. The red Kia involved in the collision was confirmed to be stolen from the Northern Lights Apartments. Officers also located a second stolen red Kia still parked at the Northern Lights Apartments, which the suspects had abandoned prior to stealing the second Kia. It was later found that the second Kia had been involved in at least 1 burglary. Both vehicles had ignition damage consistent with the USB method of Kia thefts. Detectives responded to the scene. Interviews were attempted for the juvenile suspects, but per RCW, both were required to consult with the legal counsel before being interviewed. One suspect chose not to speak. The other declined any involvement in the crime. Denny Juvenile Center accepted both suspects for booking. Photographs were taken of the suspects, including their shoes, and that was taken prior to booking. Detectives began photographing to preserve the evidence at the scene. And a Mountlake Terrace drone operator responded that morning to assist with scene documentation. Drones are critical tools in crime scene perspective preservation. This drone video demonstrates how a drone can capture footage that would give judges or juries a perspective on the crime. This would have been the path of the suspect vehicle. In order to compile more evidence, detectives canvassed the area for surveillance cameras. They came across one residence where a witness who had stated she had confronted the two suspects in her backyard. Detectives photographed the yard and located footprints where the witness stated the suspects had jumped over her fence. These were later compared to the suspect's shoes, and the design matched both sets of shoes. In 2023, the Mountlake Terrace Police Department secured off 2 parking spaces in the parking garage. This is used for temporary vehicle storage and searches. Equipped with proper lighting systems and evidence processing material, it's easier to methodically search these vehicles. Stolen property was found in both vehicles. The 2 juvenile suspects were booked on charges related to the collision. Their actions had caused a man to sustain multiple serious injuries, keeping him in the hospital for a prolonged period of time. Booking approval is not always guaranteed. Judges approve every probable cause booking, and often juvenile suspects are released to parents, even with violent crimes. Charges are still pending and have not been filed by the prosecutor's office on either juvenile. Animal control and property technician. In 2023, Tammy Custer was our property technician in animal control. As animal control, she responded to 73 animal control calls. There was 1,940 pieces of evidence taken in and 2,147 pieces destroyed. Daniel Singson is our domestic violence coordinator. There were 384 domestic violence calls for service, resulting in 179 criminal DV cases. Danielle also assists detectives in obtaining medical records, contacting victims with case updates, scheduling forensic interviews, and many other tasks relating to victims of violent crimes. Joey Worthern is our police management analyst. Her primary duties include research and cost analyst of budgets and producing budget reports for the chief, accreditation management and compliance auditing. She manages records with the state retention schedule, addresses claims, restitution requests, and contracts, compiles annual reports and surveys. She coordinates purchasing for the department and maintains department website and public-facing documents. Our record staff consists of 3 record specialists, Marlena Moran, Sherry Henderson, and Sandy Newgard. In 2023, they processed 445 pistol transfers, 175 CPLs, 555 public disclosure requests, 535 criminal cites, 1,057 traffic infractions, and 272 civil tickets. In 2023, Code enforcement opened 112 new cases, closed 82 cases, conducted 374 inspections, processed 57 impounds, issued 469 correction notices, 178 parking tickets, and 37 timed parking actions. Community outreach. The department continues to use our community outreach program to provide services and basic necessities to individuals in need. In 2023, there were 2,358 outreach contacts. The department regularly participates in community events and hosts community events such as Cops and Clergy. In 2023, the department hosts its first self-defense course for local residents. Cops and Clergy, which continues to be highly successful. The purpose of Cops and Clergy is to break down barriers that hinder communication between the law enforcement agencies and the community at large, promotes collaboration in solving community-based problems. The objectives are to provide a forum for meaningful discussion concerning community issues with a solution-based focus, obtain input from faith-based leaders as to the need, fears, and concerns of the faith-based communities, develop a faith community referral and resource guide to serve the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of our residents during times of crisis, and to gain a better understanding of the police department. Officer O'Hagan is our community outreach officer, and he works with our embedded social worker, Heather Turner. Together, they continue to contact and assist many individuals in need and crisis in the city. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Oh, Councilmember Payne Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and gentlemen, thank you for the presentation. This is always illuminating. I had a couple, I guess, first kudos to give out. You know, I think, you know, you in the presentation show a lot of sort of tactical sort of representations of your training, which I think sort of belies a lot of the sort of work that police and staff go through. You know, you mentioned de-escalation and understanding sort of folks in crises and things like that. And those don't make good sort of action shots necessarily, but I think it really shows up in as you mentioned, you know, the way that officers and staff interact with community. And I just want to reflect that I hear that from folks in town. I've experienced it, you know, just this last week, had a really good interaction with now Sergeant Shin and Officer Weigard responding to a parked car hit and run near my house. And, you know, they're you know, the professional conduct and you know, sort of responsiveness shows up really well. So want to give you kudos on that front. And also, I think, you know, given it's also worth stating, you know, we see it in drones, but also use of some of the sort of best practice or more modern restraints. I think there's a lot of discourse out in the political and you know, community policing conversation across the state around these things, and I just want to make sure that you hear that. I think it reflects well upon the city and the Mountlake Terrace Police Department that you are being thoughtful in you know, seeking out, you know, the best and most and safest, I guess, sort of technologies when you do have to restrain someone. So thank you for that. And then I did have a question in all of this as well. I think Commander Haynes, you mentioned Initiative 2113 and its passage. And I can recall back a few years, you know, in conversations with the chief, even before all of the sort of legislating around pursuit standards began, and you know, recall that we've always had a pretty, again, thoughtful and safety-minded pursuit protocol here in Mountlake Terrace. I'm wondering, where as this sort of political or legislative pendulum swings, where we stand now in terms of our pursuit standards. I know we want to keep folks out of danger from dangerous pursuits that might occur, but with this initiative sort of resetting the conversation back to where does that leave us at the end of the day?
Well, we're still going to be very conservative in our analysis of pursuits. There's a balancing act. You have to look at the crime and the danger the crime creates in the community versus the danger you're creating by chasing the car. So that's a balancing act that the officer needs to analyze when he or she is making a decision. Also, obviously, we have supervisors that have the ability and are quite willing to terminate that pursuit. So we're still going to be very conservative in our approach. We're going to consult with our legal advisor, both in Lexipol and Hillary Evans, to really come up with a good median. The days of just chasing everything because it runs were probably gone 10 to 15 years ago. It's just not safe, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we have to do that balancing act. So we're still going to err on the side of caution when we can, but we're certainly going to take a different approach than we may have taken in the past few months in terms of addressing some of the crimes that have occurred, particularly smash and grab robberies, things like that, the pot shop, smash and grab burglaries, excuse me. It's just become a curse throughout the community. So that's an example of something we may have another look at in terms of addressing it. It's not inherently a violent crime, but it's certainly a pattern crime we need to address very aggressively. So that would be an example of a different approach there. But we're still going to be very conservative. We still realize that community safety and the safety of the officers involved is number one and number two.
Anyone else? Councilmember Salmore?
Thank you, and thank you for being here. As I can see on your charts, burglary, theft, DUI, calls for service, infractions are all going up. I was surprised because I see a lot on our police reports that domestic violence, I see a lot of calls for that. Can I ask, a lot of those calls, is it usually the same person over and over? I know out of the 348, I think, cases or calls that were accepted, like 179 actually became cases. So is it usually a repeat offender a lot of the times?
It's certainly a pattern. We see that certain families experience the same problem over and over, and we're conscious of that. We really try to address that on a variety of levels. Danielle is very good at intervening. I wouldn't say that all those cases are repeat offenders, but I can tell you that from personal experience that a lot of them are. Certainly go back to the same measures time and time again to try to solve problems.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen it run through the families. So it's something that I wish we could beat, but unfortunately, it's something that it happens, and I'm glad we have Danielle there to help with that, as well as all of you. Light rail's coming in. Are you going to have more patrol down there? Do you expect Washington State Patrol to be down there? How are you gearing up for that, or what are your recommendations on what you'll be doing when light rail comes in?
They have a fairly robust security contingent that are fairly well trained. A lot of them retired police officers, so I'm optimistic about that. I don't anticipate the Washington State Patrol being involved too much. The county is involved to a certain extent, and particularly in the physical areas, the light rail stations, the park and rides, things like that. But we're kind of waiting to see. It's going to bring a lot of more numbers into town. There's no doubt about that. We've met several times with the security directors and some of their folks down there. We'll see what happens, but there will be a significant impact.
They said last time we met with them about 2 weeks ago that they've doubled the security, and so, but that's not out here yet. So I'm wondering if they're going to triple security, just to make sure that they have this end secure. So when you're saying the county, so the county should be checking the parking lot, because isn't the county supposed to be checking the apartments behind Albertsons? And I'm thinking that you guys are doing most of those calls.
I think all that's true. The county has the contract with light rail for security. Obviously, those things in the city of Mountlake Terrace are also a responsibility, so I'm welcome to have two agencies doing the work. But yes, we're still heavily involved in all that.
So I would love to see light rail, if there was any budget to help with helping the police departments with the cities on the line of the trail, because we're not getting any more money in for police because we're having something come right through the middle of our city. And so I'm really curious to see how that's going to pan out, and the crime, if it's done what it has done in other cities. It's going to be really interesting to see what it does to the city of Mountlake Terrace. So it sounds like you guys are geared for that. And then I just have one last question, and you can tell me if you can't answer it, of course. But the 3 people that were just arrested, and I'm so glad, I was so happy to receive the email on that the other day, and I'm sure the family is as well. Can I ask, did the family have any prior contact with these 3, or was it completely random? And you probably understand the reason I'm asking that is because usually if it's completely random, that's very, very extremely serious. And if they've had any contact, maybe they knew of something, in the house. And I'm not saying anything about these people or not, because we know who the family is, but it just for security or a peace of mind, did they have any contact, or was this completely?
So we could find no prior contacts with these individuals. They did, however, do some research on who they were going to hit. We found in some of our search warrants through their phones and stuff. So we're doing some research on who they were going to hit.
Did they commit a crime in Seattle? Is that how they?
They committed 2 in Seattle and 1 Mountlake Terrace. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the great job you do. I feel safe being in Mountlake Terrace. Congratulations on working with the surrounding county for the home invasion problem, because that really kind of had me sleeping uneasy at night. That kind of things going on, especially when they're coming into your house at 4 in the morning. Also, thank you for helping out with the interurban trail on 220th with the group there and the shopping carts. I know shopping carts are getting kind of collective at places. In fact, just yesterday, coming back on I-5 south on Everett, they have a special container now to put shopping carts in from the DOT or someone. So I drove by, had to go slow, and they have a special container. It looks like kind of a dumpster, but it's just they can push up and fill it with shopping carts. And this is on the freeway, not a freeway off-ramp or on-ramp. So I know those are a problem. Also, I'm sure you helped out today with the fire on 220th at the Fun Center. That's concerning. Used to go up there and do go-karting, but it's been vacant. I know they have chain link fence around it, but it's been encamped. So thank you for your help with that, because that's right up the street from us. Also, I really like how the police department is working to keep the officers at the level we need and accreditation, because just a little bit south in Seattle, as of last week, the Seattle Police Department is down 375 officers. That's as of the 12th of this month. So thank you for being diligent on that to make me feel a lot better. Let's see, I have a few more things. Oh, working with youth and youth violence, especially with Kias. I'm really happy to see and hear that Kia last weekend had that big event at the Tacoma Dome and some other places to help with the download of the Kias so you don't just put your USB in there and get it going. So that's really good. I'm wondering, the question would be then, if we have youth that are creating crimes, where can we support them and incarcerate them? Where does that take place if we have them in Mountlake Terrace?
Well, the county, we book all the juveniles at Denny Youth Center, and there's been some significant issues with the remodeling and just a general disagreement in terms of philosophy between a lot of law enforcement leaders and the people making decisions in terms of booking. So we continue to have conversations about being more accepting of these kids when they commit crimes over and over again instead of releasing their parents, which doesn't seem to be working. In some cases, that's totally appropriate. In some other cases, it's not appropriate. So enlarging and talking to both groups, talking and enlarging the capacity for juvenile bookings in the county of Snohomish would probably be a good idea. Denny Youth Center is a very old facility. It probably is, the capacity over the years is never gone up. It's always gone down. I think we probably have space for less than 20, just 25 people incarcerated there right now, which is totally inadequate for a county of this size. It's a conversation we need to keep happening.
Thank you, because that is constantly, every time I turn on the TV, that's what's going on. And every time it's involved, it seems, as the youth is running away from a stolen Kia, they're dropping a gun, and seeing that a lot. And I asked you because I don't know what we could do in our county. I know King County, Dow Constantine in 2020 pledged to close many of the youth detention centers by 2025. But then the advisory committee said, let's hold off till 2028. So that's concerning. So I'm just wondering, we need to be proactive with our county and help our youth. I have other ideas about helping youth because we don't support them like we had when I grew up, where I could go to the park and play ping pong for free or things like that. And I think that's kind of tough. They don't have anywhere to go.
I think we're probably, most of us have been in the city long enough to remember in the 80s we had a program called the Neutral Zone, late night basketball at the schools. We've talked about doing something like that again. I think the time is well past that we've needed that. I'd be a total advocate of something like that in the future. We need to look hard and fast about supporting the youth in that regard. Idle hands, we all know what the rest of that saying is.
I know when I had idle hands, I got in trouble. So, yeah, I won't be the I won't be the first to admit that. So let's see, anything else here? I got a lot of things to talk to you about. Nah, I think I'll let the council rest on that. And I appreciate your help and keeping our community safe. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to all three of you and the entire force for all of your work. I would echo Councilmember Ryan. I feel very safe in our community. I feel very safe letting my 9 and 12-year-olds, traverse our community and practice their independence. And I'm incredibly grateful to see, while it's a slight decrease, a decrease in our violent crime, especially when I know that is not necessarily the trend more regionally. So I'm grateful for that and grateful for all of the work that you do to help support that. I would be remiss if I didn't start with kudos on the recruiting efforts. I know I've had lots of questions over the last several years about recruiting, and I appreciate, I think one of the things I've said in the past, and I will reiterate tonight, I appreciate that when you come in and you share these things and we provide questions and feedback, I feel like the next time you come in, like that is always incorporated into what you come back and share with us. And I just am incredibly grateful for your willingness to both, be here and share what you are doing and all of the great stuff that you are doing, and to hear us when we have thoughts and feedback. So congratulations on being fully staffed. Again, I think to Councilmember Ryan's point, we recognize that that is not true everywhere. And I think a big part of that is, intentionality, and a big part of that is probably culture as well, right? Creating a culture that folks want to join and be a part of, and the fact that the people that are joining and want to be a part of our police force are better representing our community as a whole, I think, again, just speaks to all of the work that all of you are doing. So kudos and congratulations on all of that. Other things, I had a bunch of stuff, but I will try to keep it fairly brief. I think, I guess maybe I'll just get to questions. So I had, I think, 2 questions as you were going through the presentation tonight. One was on the use of critical force. We got some good demographic data on, I think, age and gender. Maybe there was one other one, but I don't think we got race data there, and I would love to see that. If that's something that you guys could share back with us on the critical force data, that would be really helpful to see. And then my other question was about the DUIs, just because that was such a significant increase. And I guess I am curious, when I think about safety in the community, I don't just think about violent crime, right? I think about how do we all, get around our community in a way that is safe, and DUIs, obviously are a large risk to that. So I'm curious if you think that that is an increase mostly driven by increased patrol. I know we talked a little bit about during COVID that, there weren't as many traffic. So I guess I'd be curious, if you have any indicators around perhaps why those increases, or why that increase is in place, and thoughts about how maybe we can help to mitigate it.
You're correct. Being fully staffed really helped. There's just more, there's less time. It's driven by 911 calls for service and more discretionary time for the officers, and that's how they're spending it. Coincidentally, also, we have a couple officers that really see that as their mission. And quite frankly, arresting DUIs takes time. I mean, it's for a traffic stop, it could result in 3 hours work that night, just for that one case, particularly if it's a problematic suspect. So we have a couple officers that see that as their mission, and they have embraced it and make a lot of traffic stops. And just the availability of discretionary time makes a big difference. I wouldn't say that there's probably more people drinking and driving than there were this time last year. I think we're just doing a much better job of confronting it.
That's good to hear. So thank you then for that work as well, and congratulations on the cross region. The efforts to solve the case that you made arrests on yesterday. I think that was just glad to hear, and thank you for all of the work on that and all of the other things that you do.
Councilmember Sonmore?
I just wanted to thank you for the Narcan that you had there. And I was wondering if council could receive, I've worked with council members long enough to know that usually they'll stop at and try and help residents and do a lot of things. And it would be nice if we could all have some Narcan maybe to carry in our car. And so I was wondering if that's a possibility.
We can certainly make that happen.
Thank you.
We need training too. Councilmember Woodard?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to say, as always, want to start with thank you for your leadership. Again, I heard from the council already that our department is strong, and it's a cultural thing, and it starts at the top. I say that every time. I mean it every time. That said, I do want to run down a couple of quick ones, which is, one, congratulations on the reaccreditation. That's huge. Congratulations. I know a lot of work goes into that. In any department, I imagine yours is even steeper. So congratulations on the time and effort that you put in for that. I also want to echo the congratulations on the hiring and the promotions. You've been talking ever since I've been here about succession planning. These are wonderful examples of what succession planning looks like, and just for the very reasons that we heard up here, that you're finding people who want the job, which I suspect is a lot harder to do now. So first you're finding people who want the job, and then on top of that, are reflective of the communities that they're coming from, not just racially, but language. That's outstanding. I can only imagine the power that that might be bringing in, which will be a discussion for the council down the road at some point about how we compensate people when they bring these types of skill sets. That said, I do also want to pull out, because a message or a theme that you have all brought to us, and I think consistently have demonstrated, is you're about educating, not incarcerating, about educating. And so I always look through these and try to figure out what are examples of that. And so I want to pull this out for our residents just to take a look at. And again, Doug, you're not here to do the math, so that's on you. But nonetheless, calls, according to slide 9, went up over 3,000 calls. However, arrests barely went up over 100, which, if I did the math right, is less than 3%, which to me, again, that's 3,000 additional times that you put, and I mean you collectively, put yourselves potentially in harm's way, or at least in misunderstandings way, which can lead to harm's way. And rather than see an increase in, what did you call it, restraints, with the lowest level of getting people to act right, if you will, when they're not, we didn't necessarily see that even significantly change, which to me means we're having some genuine interactions with anyone coming through Mountlake Terrace, whether they live here or not. Very proud of that, and just wanted to acknowledge that we see it and want to pull that out. That said, going to take a turn, which is more of a morbid curiosity, but which is slide 37, 23 death investigations. What on earth is a death investigation, and why are there 23 of them?
So that's just pure numbers and I guess, happenstance. Whenever somebody passes away, there's a death investigation, and that could be from old age or anything from cancer, you name it. When somebody dies and the police are called out, it's an investigation, and we investigate whether it was natural causes or if there was something more sinister involved, I guess. So that's just happenstance.
Okay. Perfect. So it's a standard protocol then.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, I was just like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, the homicide number would be up if there was something to be worried about.
Okay, yeah, and I figured, but it was still like, that seems weird. What is that?
Yeah.
That said, thank you for defining that. This last one is, I imagine you're aware of it. I just don't know who's, quote unquote, responsible for it. And so when you're going down 236 I-5 on-ramp, you look to the right, and like right as you're looking at the back side, or maybe the front side of the Nile. Technically, it could be the right of way, but the point of it is there's clearly somebody living there, because the trash is unfriggin' believable, right? I mean, that's the first kind of sign that what's going on. Don't know how many people it is, but I'm just curious, one, are we able to do anything in terms of, let's go with the social worker? Is the social worker working with that person? Because the trash does not seem to be going less. It seems to be growing and going down the hill, which I just kind of go, right? So I don't know if that's actually in our area. Like, again, that might be one of those funky spaces where technically it's the highway patrol because it's an on-ramp or whatever. I get that.
We're well aware that it's probably the most visible of the problems. There are several others throughout the city. That's the most visible, and we're continually contacting folks there. I don't think presently there's anybody living there. It's a place we've been a dozen times, if not more, in the past few months. We're working on it.
Okay.
We're working on it.
I figured as much. I just wanted to acknowledge it, and I was curious, like I said, is it one of those where they just found like that one little loophole where who's, quote unquote, actually able to enforce? So you're encouraging, but you can't technically do anything because it's not our property. But we sure look like it's our property when you're coming down my on-ramp, and it's just a ton.
We're even if it's not our property, we're more than willing to confront the issue when we see it.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And you guys are doing a great job. Okay, next is the review and vote on the interlocal agreement for Snow 911 with our Recreation and Parks Director, Jeff Betts.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I'm Jeff Betts, Recreation and Parks Director for the city, and I'm bringing back an item that you've seen a few times, extended anyway, but we're going to talk about the Snohomish County 911 interlocal agreement, which is essentially a lease agreement for the dispatch center at the operations facility. So some background information. We're going to do some background, some location information, show you where it is, and talk about the lease terms. And then we'll take some questions. I will take some questions, and also relay the request of council. So there's been a series of agreements over the last 40 plus years, and dating back to 1983, and probably before that as well, but from what I have record of, 1983, there was an agreement between the cities of Linwood and Mountlake Terrace and Snohomish 911, or its predecessor at the time was SNOCOM. And so that agreement laid out terms for how it is shared the facility down at, located in Mountlake Terrace, and we'll get to that location. And as well, there was an agreement soon thereafter in 2000 that involved the construction of a new facility, which became the dispatch center for SNOCOM on that property. And then in 2010, the city did buy out Linwood, the city of Mountlake Terrace, bought out Linwood for full control of that operations center. So that was noted in that agreement. And then later on, SNOCOM and SNOPAC merged to become Snohomish County 911. So that site, it was located at 6204 215th Street Southwest, kind of in the northwest area of the city. And you can see outlined in this image here is the property for Snohomish 911's building. It also includes, it's a fully fenced in property, so it includes part of the hillside and some parking stalls, as well as the building itself where they operate out of the dispatch center. So the lease terms for this dispatch center is involves 7,900 square feet and 14 employee parking stalls. And as we've mentioned previously, this is not an active dispatch center. It's actually, they call a warm backup is their terminology used. And they moved their operations years ago when they merged up into Everett. So that is a primary location for all Snohomish County's 911 operations. But this is utilized frequently for training, and definitely in the case of any emergency, that site would be fully operational. And definitely if something happened to the Everett Center where it was temporarily knocked out of service for some reason or another, they would have another location to go to. So it is essential for 911 operations in Snohomish County. So the lease terms involve a payment of $4,000 per month, as well as leaseholder excise taxes. And Snohomish 911 is responsible for all of their own utilities, and they have a chiller that was installed for their server units because those rooms with servers get really, really, really hot, even when it's not hot outside. So they are responsible for maintaining those, as well as the gate. There's an access gate into the area. It's a pretty secure area. We don't want anybody else in that other than authorized personnel. So they're responsible for maintaining that. Then the city would be responsible for all the structural components of that building, including the roof, plumbing, HVAC, everything associated with making it operational, including the exterior paint. So that is the very short presentation about the interlocal agreement. It is a different arrangement than we've had in the past. So previously, it was a no-cost agreement to where they'd be able to utilize the facility, and this is something where they would have to pay for use of it. And so the arrangement is a little different as well. The city would have to take on more of the maintenance to the facility than previously. We did maintain some of the elements, but there were some things that they had installed, like the HVAC units that they maintained, but that's something that now the city would be involved in since it is our property and they're just leasing it. So the request of council is just to Staff recommends that the council authorize city manager to sign that interlocal agreement. And any questions?
Any questions or comments? Councilmember Sonmore?
Jeff, can I ask, $4,000 a month times 12 after, how long is the lease for?
Yeah, I could have mentioned that. Thank you for pointing that out. It's a 5-year lease, but there is a 1 year, or I should say, there's one additional option for 5 additional years, is what I should say. So 5 years plus 5 optionally.
So with the amount of money we're taking in per year, I have to just ask the life of the HVAC, the plumbing is kind of all within the building, the roof is kind of all within the building, and the coolers, I guess that's part of the HVAC, I'm assuming. How old is the HVAC? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, are we going to be ahead of the game by taking on the maintenance from what they need? It seems like it would just primarily be the HVAC in addition to just the normal wear and tear of the building.
Yeah, I think you got it correctly. I mean, there's going to be some other upkeep type things, like eventually we'll have to be repainted, right? And things like that, of that nature. But I would say those rooftop units, and I think there's 6 of them for that small building, they're in better shape than the rest of our rooftop units in the city. So
Can I ask too?
not in need of immediate repairs right now, but
Eventually.
yeah, they go on our asset list.
So you mentioned that, I know we entered it in 2000, and I'm sure our attorney's on the phone too and looked at it. And so why are they willing to pay now where they haven't been when they didn't pay before? I know it's a soft center and they all moved to Everett, which I was kind of sad about. But it sounds like they've agreed to this amount of money, and why are they doing it now?
Well, the city council agreed and approved that this no-cost lease in the past was something a path that you wanted to take and that their board wanted to take as well 24 years ago. But it did service just South Snohomish County at the time, so I can't speak to necessarily all the reasoning behind that. But we do know that there's a cost to that, to Mountlake Terrace maintaining that facility, and we already do pay into the Snohomish 911 conglomerate of cities that pay for that service. And I think part of our thought, staff thought, was that, you know, we do already pay for that. So there's kind of a thought that if they're going to be utilizing that service, that's something they should be paying for. So if all the cities are paying into this, you know, group, Snohomish 911 group, it'd almost be like Mountlake Terrace is paying twice if we're giving it to them for free.
And then they moved out maybe 5 years ago, so they haven't been paying in the last 5 years as well.
Correct.
Sounds good to me. Good job.
Anyone else? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move to approve the interlocal agreement between the city and Snohomish County 911.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next is the review of the 2024 community events schedule with, again, Jeff Betts and Events Coordinator Andrew Applewick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. My name is Andrew Applewick. I'm the events coordinator for the city of Mountlake Terrace, here to review the 2024 community event schedule with you. We're here to review the 2024 event schedule while highlighting sponsorship opportunities for events that the city hosts. We'll be providing a little bit of background of events previously and currently operating. We'll go over the 2024 event schedule, also go over the event expansion this year and sponsorship opportunities for events here in Mountlake Terrace. and take any questions that you may have after. All right. Before 2022, the city organized 2 primary events, the National Night Out and the tree lighting. In 2022, the city took over the 3rd of July family celebration previously hosted by the Cheeseburger Babies nonprofit, who had been running it years prior to COVID. The events coordinator position came open in 2023, and it's a title that I'm proud to hold. This role was created to take on event tasks and planning that had previously been spread over multiple departments, as well as expand offerings to the community and support city departments and boards and commissions in their work plans. Here is our event schedule. It is a little more robust than years past, and I am excited to bring this to your attention. We'll go over by starting at the top. This is all the events moving forward from now through the end of the year. You will notice that not all boards and commission events are on here, as well as other events that do come up. These are the ones that we are highlighting as larger events that we are hosting and I'm overseeing. April Pools Day is an annual water safety event put on by the Recreation and Parks Department Aquatics in partnership with the American Boating Club of Snohomish County. It is a free event hosted at the Recreation Pavilion for families to attend and learn water safety tactics and take different courses to be able to be safer in and around the water. We have our Arbor Day cleanup, which is one of our 2 primary park cleanup events here on April 20th. We are co-sponsoring the Fly Fisheries International event, which is a registration event for Fly Fishers International, where anybody of all skill levels can come attend and learn or perfect their skills. You'll see the food truck, rodeo, and car show. That event is currently up in the air as we have other events in the city that are happening on that same time period, and we do not want to monopolize all events for that day or that time, so we may end up partnering with other organizations to merge the 2 events together. On July 3rd, we have our largest city-hosted event or city-run event, the 3rd of July Family Celebration down at Lake Ballinger from 6 to 10:30. This event hosted an estimated 5,000 attendees last year, with 6 food trucks, including 4 dinner and 2 dessert, with pie eating contest, DJ, and, of course, our wonderful fireworks show. Then you'll start to see Terrace Summer Nights listed here numerous times. Terrace Summer Nights is an expanded summer series offering for as we go throughout the summer and moving forward, that any evening series can fall under this umbrella. We're adding 4 music nights, as well as hosting 4 movie nights, which is an increase of 2 movie nights from last year. Music in the Terrace Summer Nights music will be hosted here at the Civic Campus, Jerry Smith Plaza, on July 11th. It'll be hosted at Terrace Creek Park on July 18th. Tour de Terrace is hosted by the Tour de Terrace organization for their summer festival, and that'll run July 19th through the 21st. The city does provide support for this event, which is why it is on this schedule, and we are looking forward to this event continuing now as it brings in an estimated 70,000 attendees over the 3-day weekend. On July 25th, we have Terrace Summer Nights music back here in front of City Hall, the Civic Campus, and we start our first Terrace Summer Nights movie on July 27th down at Terrace Creek Park. All movie nights are listed at estimated times, but movies will start 15 minutes after sunset. On August 1st, we have a Terrace Summer Nights music back down at Terrace Creek Park. We'll have Terrace Summer Nights movie at Terrace Creek Park as well. National Night Out will be hosted at Evergreen Playfield 3 as an annual event for community safety and resources. This event hosts 26 different nonprofit organizations as well as community resources for families to come out and enjoy the resources and time together. This event also hosts a free meal for all participants and a touch truck zone, as well as dance performances and DJ entertainment. We'll continue with August 9th for Terrace Summer Nights movie, as well as August 16th. We are looking at hosting a back-to-school event with a supply drive, health checkups, haircuts, and school resources for families who are getting ready to go back into the school year and may need additional support to do so. On September 14th, we have our National Day of Service, which is our second primary parks cleanup. Location is to be determined based on park needs and support that we have. September 21st through the 28th is the 44th annual Terrace Arts of the Terrace show hosted by the Friends of the Arts at the Mountlake Terrace Library. This is another partnership opportunity for the city in which we do support this event. A new event that we are looking at offering this year and launching is an opt-in event for food service businesses for a restaurant week here in Mountlake Terrace. This event would provide restaurants and food service businesses to opt in to offering a special or discount for that entire week, in which myself as the events coordinator would then promote through our social media and our website to be able to build an audience for those businesses as they come in. We've had a huge uptake in new restaurants and restaurants that want to be able to sustain themselves here, but may need help gaining visibility, and we're hoping to do that. On November 24th, it's the Pavilion's 56th birthday. We try to highlight that every year with about a week-long, just different specials throughout the week to try to get more people in the building. Recognize that that is an amazing facility. Even though it is aging, people still love it, young and old. So it's just something to celebrate for us as well. And on December 6th, we will have our 41st tree lighting here in the Civic Campus, where we will light up that tree, have cocoa, have cookies, and celebrate together. The expansion this year had a lot of factors come into play. One of the starting factors was staffing. It comes down to the bandwidth of myself as the events coordinator, as well as other departments that it impacts to be able to put on events. The current expansion does not include any large events that require additional internal support. We do rely heavily on community volunteers to be able to put on these events. And another factor that we looked into is overtapping those volunteers, as we do not want to make sure we burn them out so they're not able to support us. Financially, I want to be respectful of the city's budget and making sure that we are creating events that do not hinder the bottom line and we can support on our own. We do rely on sponsorships, which you'll see on the next slide, to help assist in event funding. We strive to maintain safe events for all of us here in the community, and in doing so, we try to reduce the amount of community impact we have, including taking up extra parking, noise ordinances, road closures, as well as conflict with other groups wanting to host events. So being very diligent on making sure that we are reducing the amount of impact that we have on the community while trying to put on safe events. And seasons, we do live in the Northwest. Seasons can be a little unpredictable. We have about a 9-week stretch for the most part that we can pretty much bank on being able to host outdoor events. We do not have a lot of indoor space to host large events, which is why we have so many crammed into the summer months. But as we continue to grow and try to figure out other partners, definitely be able to co-host or co-support other events, whether in our city or in the surrounding cities. In 2023, we launched our first sponsorship guide. This guide offered sponsorship opportunities for all of our primary events. One of those offerings being our community partner sponsorship. This is and was a $500 general donation to the event funds, and which businesses and organizations can support as they are able. We had 18 sponsors at this level last year, which helped support and put on our events. This year, we have moved forward to be able to allow Mountlake Terrace Chamber members to support the community partners level at a discounted rate, as we want to bring value to the Chamber of Commerce, as well as be able to recognize more of the businesses that are supporting us holistically. Last year, we looked at the events that we were hosting and seeing if we can break those down into different sponsorship opportunities. And in doing so, we were able to create multiple opportunities within an event, so we're not just selling an entire event for one cost, where a business around here could not support it. In front of you guys, I do have our sponsorship levels, or not levels, our funds raised for each year. I do have a sponsorship guide on our website if you would like to check out those levels. Annual funds raised by year. In 2022, the city received $8,750 in sponsorship contributions for events. In 2023, we received $20,700 for sponsorships and contributions for events. And so far, as of March 8th, the city has received $12,050 in committed funds for events in 2024. Now I will open the floor up for any questions that you may have or comments from Jeff.
I just wanted to add that Andrew's been doing a great job on communicating with the community and doing a lot of outreach to meet people and really involve them in the process. So that's what a lot of this has been, is talking to boards and commissions and asking what they would like to do. And so there's been a lot of communication. I think that's been really good. Also, I wanted to point out that those sponsorship forms were attached as part of the council agenda, so hopefully you've all been able to see those and see what we're circulating through the community for each event. So I just wanted to point those things out.
All right. Councilmember Murray?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andrew and Jeff, for being here tonight, and very excited. I mean, I just thank you for all of the work. I think when we're talking about opportunities for, building community and folks to come together and positive things to do in our community, I think these are all really, really great examples. And, I love the things that we have a history around and that we continue to spend time and prioritize those. And I'm really excited about the new things that are on the deck for trying out this year. And I love that the movie, it's been a long day, movies in the park that's growing this year. I thought that was a great time last year, and so I'm excited to see that back and excited to see more folks at that this year. And so just very, a big thank you. So I know, yes, I think to your point, Jeff, I was going to say, I know all of the boards and commissions are very excited about Andrew and events, and, I think the community is as a whole, which I think is a really exciting place for us to be, and I think they will be really excited as they hear more about these upcoming events. So appreciate all of the effort.
Thank you. I do want to note that we have moved our movie nights, so they are on Fridays and Saturdays, so they're not on Thursdays this year. So hopefully we'll be able to build a little larger base for that.
Anyone else? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief, but yeah, also very excited about the direction we're going and having the expanded events, and particularly more movie nights, adding music, and having, I'm anxious to see how that goes and what kind of music we have, and hopefully getting live bands and different kinds of music and different audiences, being able to attract different audiences. So I really am thankful for what we're doing and the direction we're going and how far we've come. I'm going to put a bookmark in because as you may have heard, or others will recall from my comments the other night, I am anxious for us to start creating cultural events and looking at different, for instance, we've had a lot of talk recently about Native Americans because of our proud homegrown actress that did so well, and but that's just one. I mean, what is the First Nation they call it up in Canada, right? But that hearing more about that culture here in Mountlake Terrace, and having sponsoring a night to hear, understand, experience, taste, feel, what being a Native American in America is about, or like other experiencing and feeling and touching and hearing other parts of the world, cultures from around the world. I think would be really exciting and a great way to start expanding understanding and appreciation for the different cultures that we have here in Mountlake Terrace, and being able to celebrate the different cultures that we have, and better understanding what again, being able to feel, experience, touch, taste. I think there's a great opportunity for us. So anyway, bookmark, you'll be hearing more about that later. And the other one you've heard a lot about that I'm going to be looking forward to is what? Can you say it? Maybe a night market? Night markets. I think that's, and I recognize that as a huge lift. But I think there's a huge opportunity for us as well there, and a great event, a great type of attraction that is unique to this area. And so I'm just looking forward to. I recognize one step at a time, and we're making great progress, and I appreciate that. I'm just excited about adding to it, and I just, again, put those bookmarks in there for future consideration. Thank you.
Yes, and I would, for going back to like the music nights and stuff, the Arts Commission will be meeting on April 2nd to go over their grading scales for a selection of artists. We had 24 artists and bands apply for this year, which is great for us as a first-time event. We have to narrow it down to 4. There is a diverse offering of music through that as well. And in regards to the cultural events and stuff, I'm working with the boards and commissions to be able to find out how we want to engage with that, as well as Snow Isles Library has reached out for us to support them as they're hosting other things within their library system.
Do we have a budget for any of this, or is it the sponsorship only?
There is no budget currently for some of these events. This is a new program that we budgeted partially with ARPA. If you remember that council budgeted that last year. So it'll be something we talk about the next budget cycle on how that evolves and what kind of funding is available.
Because, yeah, there are certain bands out there that are not hugely expensive, but they do cost money, but it'd be really worth to bring in. So we'll talk about that more later. We have a huge Nepalese group here, and they, you know, it's just an example of different cultures that are around here. Well, there's a whole bunch of others, but anyways, I just wanted to just bring it up, but I wanted to know if we had a budget. So that's Council Member Payne Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Andrew, great work, I think, and great work to past councils for making sure that you're here sorting out all these logistics and really building a program that, that our residents and our neighbors can come enjoy in terms of programming. I think it's really important as a small town government to have touchstones like this, so that a lot of folks have been asking for a lot of events and programming like this for years, and you are for the value of your time, it really will benefit and sort of create community in ways that I think in the past we haven't been able to do to the same degree. And I'm really excited about it. I know that community will be too. Want to switch gears slightly, because I recall last summer, and I know this isn't necessarily a city event or completely city event, but there were at Tour de Terrace some complaints that we heard from neighbors, as well as some concerns I think we all had about some of the things that happened at that event, and just in terms of getting ahead of the curve. And I guess this is sort of maybe a conversation for another night, but just wanted to understand what type of engagement or planning is going on around whether it's crowd control or preparation and expectation management for impacts of Tour de Terrace, but any of these other events that we might see in our parks and go into the evening time. I know that preparation will make a difference when the time comes to execute. So would love to hear your thoughts now or later.
So we are in discussions with the Tour de Terrace organization right now for this year's event. So we're working on that agreement that's going to come to council. It's not on agenda yet. Or maybe it is on agenda now. We think we just added it to one within the next month or so. Maybe it's the end of April. So we have been working on some of these exact things that you were referring to. So I think that we can write some of these things into the agreement, and then we're just going to have to make sure that we are talking to them about enforcing it in different ways that we have thought of to do that. So definitely top of mind on this agreement for this year.
Councilmember Woodard?
Thank you, Mayor. I absolutely want to echo what a wonderful job and clearly value added you've been doing from day one. Keep it up. I really love the creativity. I love the way you're bringing people in to hear their creativity and not fighting over who was more creative, just figuring out what this city needs. That said, a question I didn't know I had, and a follow-up question along the lines of Councilmember Donovan Payne. The question I didn't know I had was 24 artists, I'm going to call them, without having heard a thing, artists have stepped up and said, yes, me, but you only have 4 slots. I'm sure you're already thinking this as a creative dog. Find something for those other 20, right? I mean, there's got to be something throughout the summer to plug those folks in, and I'm just looking at it from this perspective of, I have seen other cities do like, what is it, lunchtime, someone's playing at lunchtime. It doesn't matter, anybody comes around, but they have a space, and then people will start to come as it grows, so just stuff along those lines. I don't know how the plaza works, noise violations and all that, but just thinking in general that what a wonderful response. You hit something on the nail on the head when that many people go, yeah. But, and again, in the spirit of competition and all that, find a way to make it not as, sorry, next year, right? Because that's a long time to wait. And I'm sure there's things that are happening that maybe the other 20 might fit into without having heard a single sound of what they do, but just kind of put that out there. And then the follow-up would be along the lines of, not sure if tonight's the night, but it ties also to this idea of budgets. July 3rd, you actually acknowledged it as our biggest event, which I would just point out, everybody, that didn't used to even be our event. Now it's already the biggest. Just kind of putting that out there to past councils and decisions that were made, and here it lands now. However, I'm just going to keep it simple. We need lights at the end of the night. And if we say everybody's got a camera, a light on their phone, you're missing the point of how light works, right? So in that regard, I would just say I really hope, if that means we need to come up with money on this side to figure out how to get stationary lights or something, I just feel like we really dodged something last year, and that's only because nobody told us, right? And I'm just going to keep it simple. A punch in the dark is a lot easier than a punch in the light. Right, which is just to say, we've been talking about youth, we've been talking about pain points, we've been talking about mental health and all that stuff. And as beautiful as that night is, tensions flare for whatever reason, and darkness has a tendency to grow from that. And we saw elements of that, quite frankly, if I go back to Councilmember Rory's point about at Terrace. I mean, a lot of that was just, quite frankly, too many people in the same space, not enough to do. Well, not quite the same thing, but just kind of recognizing youth are not making the best choices lately, and youth goes all the way up to about 27 at this point, right? So just kind of putting that out there, that if you need money for that, I would say please come to us sooner rather than later, because I would hate for us to have that many people again and phone lights and whatever you brought, lanterns.
Yes, and it is one of those expenses that we looked into last year. As well as, where is the proper place to put them and shut them off for the fireworks show. And so it comes to a little bit of logistics too. But it is definitely something we talked about, trying to make sure that we have lighting at all exit points, which we did not succeed as well on last year, as well as we had our light sticks, but it doesn't do the justice for the actual park, especially during cleanup. So it is something that definitely is on the focus moving forward.
All right. Thank you. All of a sudden, we're going to be busy this summer. All right, then next is the review of the budget calendar with our Finance Director, Janella Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Today I wanted to present to you the biennial budget schedule for 25 and 26. We're doing it a little earlier than we did last time. Yay! And so we're going to be starting with the executive leadership team. I don't know if this is too small for you to read. We updated this yesterday, so you will see some changes from this Word document, from the document that you have in your packet. So March 26th is when the executive leadership team will meet next week, and we'll go over, this is the process. These are going to be your budget liaisons. These are who's going to work with who. April 2nd, we're going to have that public meeting on budget priorities. So we'll have people from the community come in. We'll have stations here throughout and talk about budget and what the residents' priorities would be for the 25-26 biennium. April 23rd, this is tentative. We'll do an ELT budget strategy work session. April 25th, the FTE analysis review with the city manager. On the 25th, we'll also have the fourth quarter 23 financial report presented to council. April 27th will be the city council retreat, and it'll be an update on long-range strategic plan and the 25-26 budget priorities. April 29th, that's when fleet management requests are due to Public Works Director. May 9th would be a council work session on the 23 budget carryovers. That'll go into 24. So in a true biennial budget, we usually just roll the budget from 23 into 24 because that's what a true biennium is. And we're going to present that to council as part of our financial policies. May 14th, we'll do the ELT budget strategy work session part 2. May 16th is the adoption of the 23 budget carryover ordinance and adopt budget priorities if needed. May 16th to the 17th, council chambers, we'll have the munis budget training, and that's when all the departments will come in here and staff will work together. And I will show them how to enter their budgets and what they need to do. Monday, May 20th, the biennial budget kickoff meeting, budget development instructions distributed to the departments. Munis is our software program, so that'll be available for budget entry, but I think I'm going to have them do an import, so they'll enter everything in Excel and I'll just import it into the system. So it's quicker, easier. We'll also have our personnel worksheets, insurance allocations and projections, cost-saving ideas, interdepartmental charges and utility charges, fleet management budget and allocations, and our performance measures. May 20th will be fleet management budget reviewed by the city manager. May 28th will be the IT capital asset budget review. June 3rd, we'll review the 6-year draft financial forecast with the city manager. To be determined is when we'll review the capital improvement prioritization methodology, and that's going to be the deputy city manager, Carolyn, is going to be helping with, is going to be doing that process with Public Works, Recreation, and Parks, and me. June 20th, we'll do the first quarter 24 financial report. That'll be presented to council. May 20th to July 5th, that's when we'll prioritize core services and we'll prepare the budget. So all the departments will be working together doing that. July 5th, we'll have 25-26 program requests will be due to me. And then we'll have them in Munis, worksheets completed, all the work documents finalized. July 10th, we'll have a budget submittal celebration lunch. Don't don't know, I guess they used to, back in the day, have a really big barbecue because the finance director was my mentor. Her husband used to barbecue. So, and we know somebody else that barbecues, so we might have a barbecue. I don't know. July 8th to the 22nd, we'll have the budget proposals reviewed, finalized, and summarized for submittal to the city manager. And then July 22nd to August 2nd, this is when the department budget meetings with the city manager will happen, and each department will present what they want for their 25-26 biennial budget. August 3rd to August 10th, they'll have the 25-26 budget revised based upon the city manager's review. August 22nd, we'll review the 6-year draft financial forecast with the city manager again. September 5th, I'll have the second quarter 24 financial report presented to council. The 12th, we'll have the preliminary report to council for the 25-26 review revenue estimates, and we'll review the 6-year financial forecast. October 3rd, at a regular meeting, we'll have the proposed 25-26 biennial budget presentation to council and the 6-year financial forecast. October 10th, we'll have the departmental presentations, so city council, city manager, community relations, IT, new internal service fund for IT, HR, risk, finance, community and economic development, and public safety, police. October 16th will be a special meeting, and again, these are all just proposed, so could change. Departmental presentations for the proposed budget, public works and engineering, park services, property management, and recreation services. On October 24th, we'll have the capital improvement projects for water, sewer, storm, streets, and our capital improvement program fund. And then we'll review the proposed 25-26 biennial budget. And we'll have like a work session on that. November 7th will be a public hearing and a review on the proposed biennial budget. And November 14th will be a public hearing of review and approval of the property tax levy ordinance to council. November 1st to the 14th, we'll all review the projections that we had, and we'll update it as necessary from the decisions that are going to be made. November 21st, another public hearing. We're supposed to have 3 public hearings, so that's why you see here 3 here, on the 25-26 proposed budget, adoption of the biennial budget ordinance. December 5th will be the third quarter 24 financial report presented to the council, and the adoption of the 25-26 biennial budget ordinance if it wasn't adopted on the 21st. And then by January 31st, I hope to have the budget document completed and printed, or in PDF, because I like paperless. Unless you want paper, then I will print it for you. Any questions?
I'd also just like to add real quick, sorry. The notes you see up there, RM, SM. So RM's regular meeting, SM is a special meeting. The only one that's on a different night than you typically meet is going to be on October 16th, if you scroll up just a little bit, Janella. And that is because on October 17th, there is the quarterly meeting for Snohomish County cities. Ah. So that's why that one's there. The other special meeting is on a work session night.
Any questions? Councilmember Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. No questions. Just I figured I'd say thank you. This is really nice to have high-level overview, and I'm really excited to have you lead us through this process, Janella, so thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Anyone? Councilmember Salmore?
And thank you. I wrote you a quick email tonight, just to make sure, this is a side note, everybody, that I was up to date on my signing of the claims, because
Yeah,
there
you
was,
are.
because it's, I double checked, and what I was signing was completely different, and so we've got the update and everything. It just wasn't going through, so I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we're good on that. And so what I was going to say is, now I don't want to add anything to the plate, but I will ask one thing is, before our council retreat, can we have like a notebook made of the summary of April 2nd and the long-range strategic plan and the budget to review prior, so we can have that for our retreat? And the one other ask I was going to ask is if the finance committee maybe could meet to walk through it prior, or I know we were going to meet for something else, and I just want to make sure that we're caught up on what we need to do, and that's why I brought up the DocuSign. But did you have anything to add to that?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that. So, let's see.
And are you inviting Sonia to the barbecue?
Yeah, you
Oh, of
mentioned
course.
It. It makes such a big deal. I mean, obviously we're coming.
It's all of our budget, right? Yeah, I think we can have you said the city council retreat, you wanted
I've got the note.
you've got the note? Okay.
Yep.
The reason I asked is we were supposed to get back to the coordinator, and my thought was, I didn't know the retreat coordinator's background, and so, are they, skilled in talking about budget, or do they have a different way of talking about budget, or how they can make budget fund to talk about, and so that's why I was just asking, at least for the book and the handbook, and maybe looking at how we're going to be looking at the long-range strategy and the budget, and understanding it a little bit better. And
Yeah, so I can help answer that. And I know several of you have spoken with Allegra, the retreat facilitator, and several of you are looking to make appointments with her, but she has helped numerous cities through very similar issues that we'll be discussing, or that we plan to be discussing. So yeah, she is skilled in facilitating.
in budget?
Yeah.
Budget presentation, or?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So it should be, then she'll make it fun.
Well, not only that.
Mayor Pro Tem Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, on that note, a reminder that Snohomish County Cities is meeting on the 18th, April 18th, and we'll be having a budget specialist doing a presentation. So it'd be a good opportunity for us to hear about, I can come up with his name, but he's an expert in the field, does a lot of training for cities, and was a former finance director for, I think, City of Redmond and others, and is a consultant now on financing and budgets and financing for cities. And anyway, going to be a presenter at the April 18th Snohomish County Cities meeting, and a great precursor for us in understanding budgeting going into our.
I'm looking at my expert.
Yeah, Mike Bailey, and well-known throughout the state. He is very well-respected.
Thank you.
Yeah, he is.
I think he's taught
Yeah.
the Leavenworth budget meetings.
Yeah, he's taught at a lot of spoken, yeah. Very knowledgeable.
So we want a lot of us over there if we're going to be, we're not going to have a meeting here. So we're all going to be going up north.
The only, we've held everything off the calendar for your meeting that night. And that meeting will be canceled unless there is an emergency.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Okay. Nice to
Thank
get
you.
started early. I finally found Allegra's email.
Okay, good.
I will respond. Okay. So next is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. A couple of things to mention, but I also wanted to mention in the context of the budget calendar that we are overlaying that with the calendar for the comprehensive plan adoption. It is going to be a very busy fall with a lot of big issues to consider, and we're going to try to space those things out so that, space them out at least different meetings so that you can get through all those issues and consider them, give you enough time to consider them fully, comprehensively. A couple things to mention. Let's see. Terrace Ridge, the work in the park there is wrapping up, and they're about to start, I believe, next week on Terrace Creek, installing the slides. So we get those in before the next time we get 70-degree weather, which we all know will be right around July. Boards and commission recruitments are about to start. They're going to start next week, and we'll have those recruitments out, hopefully solicit quite a few applications, and then have the interviews again and appointments in June, I believe, for July appointments. The website redesign will go live on March 26th. We plan that in the morning, so take a look in the afternoon and see if it turned out the way you expected it to from our presentations, or maybe better than you expected it to. April Fool's Day coming up, and that will include a recreation job fair for the first time. So we're taking advantage of that event to try to get more people to come work with us. We've had quite a bit of success recruiting for that, and we're looking for even more. We want to keep that going as much as we can. Let's see here. Passports from January 1st of this year through yesterday. It's been very successful. We've had an average of 8.5 appointments per day and 5.5 pictures per day, which is 3 folks come with their picture. Who knew? I didn't realize anybody brought them with them. And lastly, you heard a lot from police tonight, but I did also want to mention that we got, Detective Zuniga got a great compliment from the prosecuting attorney's office for his diligent work on a particularly difficult criminal case. In my experience, you don't see those type of compliments coming from the prosecutor's office too often. So I wanted to make sure that we highlighted this one. Detective Zuniga is doing a great job, and wanted to let him and everyone else know that we appreciate him, and the prosecutor's office does as well. So that's fantastic. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone with, Councilmember Murray?
Thank you, Jeff. Just one quick question. So for the Terrace Ridge new play equipment, are we doing some sort of celebration of that coming online?
I will find out for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, there's still a lot of social media questions on many of those parks. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to council liaison reports. And we can just start at one end, and let's go with Councilmember Woodard.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 8th, I had the opportunity to witness a naturalization ceremony. I feel like I said this before, 32 new U.S. citizens. On the 9th, a Saturday, had the opportunity to participate in the Verdant Health Fair. That was pretty exciting, a lot of good stuff. We were talking about Narcan. You can get it from our police department, but you can also get it from the health department. There's a lot of agencies out there. The goal is to have everybody trained up, because the reality is it's everybody's issue. On the 12th, I had a couple of opportunities. I participated in the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County's coffee chat. It was a legislative update. I saw a lot of us in there, so no need to go over that, other than it was a wonderful session. A lot of inroads were made and new progress made. Later that afternoon, an online opportunity with PSRC, a great conversation on affordability, true affordability, passport to 2044. It was really just a enlightening conversation about the various vehicles out there and mechanisms to actually work with the true folks who are homeless. So it was just really interesting. I don't know that we could do any of the things because we don't have the space, and it's a weird way to say it that way, but nonetheless, there were some interesting tools out there to think through some of these issues. On the 13th, I was at the Terrace talk, and by that I mean I was online. I thought that went very well. On the 14th, had two opportunities. In the morning, Mountlake Terrace High School is now the second school in the Edmonds School District to have a school-based health center, and they had their ribbon cutting. So I had an opportunity to participate in that. Just congratulations to our community. The first one was open in Meadowdale. I might have mentioned that in the past, and the amount of positivity that it has brought to Meadowdale has been through the charts, or off the roots, or off the charts, whatever the expression is. And we expect to see that at Mountlake Terrace as well. Later that day, I had the opportunity to have my one-on-one with the city manager. Apparently it was a 3-fer. And also on that day, we had our 4-for actually, study session and our photos. And then on the 16th, this past Saturday, I had the opportunity to MC the Foundation for Edmonds School District's Ruby Red Gala. And our goal was $280,000. Anybody want to guess how much we raised? Oh, man, I love your number, but no. Just over $300,000. I say that because a handful of weeks prior to that, this very same community, if you think in terms of serving our students, voted in the bond in the levy. Which, when you think about where people's finances are personally, as well as just kind of writ large, what a wonderful investment we are doing with whatever little money people have. We're putting it into our schools. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who had any hand in on that. And if anybody up here donated, thank you for that as well. And did my microphone just get even louder? Because that's tripping me out a little bit. Just me? All right. Then I'll leave it here today, which I had the full spectrum, and maybe that's why it sounds like my microphone is tripping on me. I started the morning off at the Students of Color Career Conference at the Everett Community College, which is just a fabulous experience, talking to middle schoolers. Left that, drove down the freeway to Edmonds, and had the honor of being at the Waterfront Center with their basically, it was their fundraiser, their Bridging Generation fundraiser, and here a woman who turns 101 on Sunday share her perspective, which is, if you put that together, that means in the morning I was with young people charting out their future, and then by that noon I was with somebody who could literally tell us everything that had happened in the last 100 years. It was absolutely mind-blowing, which is probably why my speaker sounds the way it does, because I am exhausted. But I am happy to be here with all of you. So, into my report.
All right. Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. On March 8th, I celebrated International Women's Day down at the 6th Annual Edmonds celebration of International Women's Day. That was down at the Edmonds Waterfront Center. It sounds like there's lots of fun things ongoing. It really has been a long day. There's a lot of fun things going on down there all the time. But they had a wonderful brunch. They had a keynote, the VP of Communications from the Kraken organization, as well as a whole panel of amazing women. The international theme for the year was Inspiring Inclusion, and then Edmonds had kind of their own theme around rule breakers and good troublemakers. So we heard lots of stories about folks that perhaps, challenged assumptions or, limitations that were placed on them and are doing really, really amazing things. And so it was a great opportunity. I got to take my daughter with me, and there was, I think, 150 folks from across the community that turned out there, and then they carried it into, it was Women in Hockey Night at the Kraken game that night. So they also, as part of the event, had the opportunity to plug into that. So it was a wonderful day of celebrating women. On the 10th, I got to head to our high school to our Oscar watch party to celebrate Lily Gladstone and her nomination. And it was a wonderful opportunity. Everybody got dressed up, and they had a video that she had recorded for folks there. And they had little star glasses to represent the star glasses you might have seen that she's had since high school, that little plastic star glasses that she wore at the Oscars. And it was a really nice nice opportunity for our community to celebrate what she has accomplished and to recognize her. On the 13th, I also went to the Terrace Talks event online and appreciate, again, that we have that opportunity when work doesn't let me get here quite in time for a 6 o'clock meeting. And so, or was it 7 o'clock? I don't know. But it was a wonderful meeting. I appreciated the opportunity for our community to learn more about utilities and want to commend our city manager, for his presentation. I thought I learned some things. And so just grateful that we are continuing to look for ways to help our community better understand the work we do. And so thank you for that. I thought it was great, and it was great to see so many community members show up and ask really thoughtful, good questions. Next night on the 14th, I had my monthly city manager meeting as well as council pictures in our work session. And then last night we had our monthly DEI commission meeting. This month's meeting, the commission spent a lot of time hearing from our comprehensive planning process team. I don't know, I feel like they need a name. I was going to say, so we have our Vision 2044 for the plan, but I feel like the team needs a name. But anyway, so they got to hear about that and share feedback. And, there is additional, I know one of the things that we had discussed as a council was, who we are hearing from in our community and how we are doing outreach. And there has been a lot of additional work that has gone on to expand the outreach that we are doing to our community to ensure that we are reaching folks who are typically underrepresented in those in providing feedback as part of these processes. And so we got some great updates on that. And I would just, again, commend both the commission and our council as well as staff for prioritizing that additional investment to making sure that this really is a collective community process that reflects all of those who are in our community. So it was a good meeting, and they've got lots of other good stuff coming up. We had a lot we didn't get to because there's so much good stuff going on. So again, just kudos to all of them. They are very excited about that commission recruiting process and getting back to a place of having a full set of commissioners. So they did definitely highlight that. So I know they're excited to hear from community members who are looking to join them in all of the good work that they are doing. I guess I had a couple other things that I guess I just wanted to mention. I think one, as I was doing my kind of like, what were the things that happened over the course of the last couple of weeks? I think just reflecting on, and particularly because we had Andrew here tonight talking about events that the city is doing, I just want to commend how many of the events that I've had the opportunity to plug into and have been meaningful for me to attend lately have been really driven by community members and grassroots efforts. So the Oscar Watch Party, the International Women's Day event, the Lunar New Year event last month, those were all driven by community members in our kind of South County area. And they were amazing opportunities to come together, to celebrate, to meet new folks, to connect with folks, perhaps, that you already knew, and to help bring parts of themselves to our community. And so I just, want to say thank you to all of the people that have made those things happen, but also to encourage our community members. We have a really exciting, robust list of things that we are putting on as a city and have expanded what we are doing in that space. And if there are other things that you want to see, would also encourage people to make that happen and invite us and include us, because there's so many great, it's been a really neat opportunity. And so I wanted to name that I'm grateful for all of the folks that have done that and continue to do that work. And then I loved that Councilmember Woodard flagged, I think all of the positive investments that our community has made in our youth lately, particularly as we have heard concerns about what idle hands can lead to and the impact of that. And I think the very real, situation that we are in where young people today have limited opportunities, and I think us thinking as a council about how we can plug into that is really important. And I also think our community thinking about how they plug into that and how they can support better outcomes is really important. I know we are making lots of positive investments in our young folks, and we are also our school district is looking at really hard cuts. So last year, Mountlake Terrace High School lost a choir class, a drama class, I think several music classes. You know, the district has, I think they started with $16 million worth of cuts that they have to make for next year. I think they're down to 10. And if anyone tried to do the balancing budget tool that they put out for public engagement, it is a really hard thing to do. I do not envy the decisions that the school board has to make. And I think that is a bigger conversation that I would encourage folks to engage with at the state level with our representatives. But there's going to be more hard decisions. And when we talk about, you know, opportunities for young folks to make better decisions and where we are investing our money, are we going to invest it on the front end to give them opportunity to play instruments or to participate in sports or to fund? One of the things that's on the table is intervention specialists. So the folks who are in the schools making sure that the students who are closest to potential risk and potentially might be those folks that we hear about in future reports, how are we keeping them from ending up, you know, there? So I would encourage folks to pay attention and plug in. And again, I don't envy the work that our school board has to do. They have to balance their budget. And I think there are very hard decisions ahead. So I would encourage folks to plug in and give their input there, and also to look at kind of bigger picture, how we hopefully don't end up in this situation again next year. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Salmore?
Oh, thanks. I have 3 liaison reports, and the first one was March 12th, and that was the Left One meeting that I also attended with Councilman Ryan, and we approved medical claims. And the second one is the Park and Rec on March 12th, where we talked about community. We had the same presentation primarily that you saw tonight on community events. We reviewed the Ballinger Park viewing area that will be coming to council, and I think you guys will be really interested in seeing what comes forward. I have to tell you that we tied on what we thought we wanted on the new walkout bridge, so it'd be really interesting to see what the council thinks of that. And then we reviewed the Park and Rec 2024 work plan and talked about the tree board update, and they would like the City Hall sequoia tree to be the first tree in the program. And then we talked about aquatic hiring, and then just to let you know, they are going to be teaching a Red Cross adult and child CPR, which is extremely important because a lot of businesses are not teaching those courses anymore, and it's always important to have that. Of course, April full pool days for free water safety, and then there was a dance fundraiser, what is today? So on the 23rd it will take place, and then also very popular is the pickleball open gym. And then the lodging tax committee will be meeting next week. And then on a side note, since it is Women's Month, I just wanted to talk about, I did attend on April 17th a multi-coalition for Dr. Claudia Thomas Community Service Award Gala, and she was the first African-American mayor in the state of Washington, and she was known for introducing a 1% of taking from the general fund to give to human services. So that was a very nice event, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. On the 12th, I also attended the Left One Retirement Board. The Arts Commission on the 19th was canceled. And then I have an announcement for our city. Our Mountlake Terrace High School basketball coach, Nolan Sood, will be retiring at the end of this year. And he's also been very helpful with the arts show as our award MC for the last 2 years, if not 3. So we might want to think about congratulating him somehow. But anyway, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Payne Donovan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think first I'll start with, I believe it was March 9th, if I'm recalling correctly, attended a meeting that was down on the Interurban Trail, and I think I'd mentioned this on our previous Thursday's meeting, but it included Mayor of Edmonds, a Shoreline City staff person, as well as representatives from increasingly regional pedestrian and bicycle group that's looking at building a bridge over Edmonds Way, State Route 104, and as well as representatives from Snowpud, Brenda White, their local government affairs person, as well as their real estate director, if you will, conversation about what an alignment might look like there, and I think we can expect some more engagement from this sort of grassroots group in the future. I think next on the official calendar here, I attended the Terrace Talks meeting, and I thought that was really great, and want to give kudos to our city manager and staff for putting that on. I think, whether it's comp plan, Terrace Talks, or any other community events, we see it. I've noticed an uptick in resident participation and genuine sort of interest in involvement ticking up, and I think that's in large part due to the efforts of staff putting the good word out, and really encouraged by that. Otherwise, I was sad to have just missed the citizenship ceremony. I caught them cleaning up as I arrived late, but otherwise I think that concludes my official council member report for tonight.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Be very brief. Last week had our work study session, also met with the Executive Director of the Mountlake Terrace Chamber of Commerce, and earlier this week talked with our facilitator, a consultant for strategic planning for the city, for the retreat. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for my report, on the 8th, I didn't know that I was the keynote speaker till I got there because I didn't read my notes. And so for the naturalization ceremony, and it's a good thing I had a speech, but they said the speech should only be 2 to 3 minutes, and it was only 2 to 3 minutes, but I didn't know it was a keynote speech. And then, let's see, and 31, you got 32, Councilmember Woodard, but I heard 31 people got naturalized, but I could be wrong. And then on the 13th, I wanted to be at the Terrace talk, but I was personally invited by Lori Matsukawa to be at her book reading, and so I decided to go to that, and met so many people that knew who I was from Edmonds, and that was a great reading that she did of her new book, and I got 2 copies of it. And then on the 14th, I attended the Mountlake Terrace High School Health Clinic in the morning for the ribbon cutting, and our Dr. Woodard gave the speech on that one at that ceremony. And then yesterday, I attended the Access Group, which a bunch of us got together in the very, very beginning, and we were all handpicked for what we can, I think, contribute. And I've been so busy, I hadn't gone for a little while and went yesterday to find how far they've come. And Steve Woodard is a part of that group, along with Will Shen of Edmonds City Council, and then the names just went out. William Page is a part of that too. And Edmond School District, and Mayor of Linwood, and it's just a lot of high-profile people as part of this. And what this group is we're trying to get the kids, when they first start feeling a need to talk to someone that they might get into trouble, that they have some place to go to, that they can trust. And so we get them before they get into trouble. Because right now, the only way we know is after they're in trouble. So I really, and Wally Webster is putting this together, and he is just really wanting to, it was an idea that he had, and he has gone as far as getting verdant money, and oh my gosh, he's got funding coming from here and there and everywhere, and it's really going to happen. It's actually happening. So I'm really proud of that group. I'm glad that we had a council member go to the high school for the Oscar party. A lot of people don't know this, but the Oscars, I take the Oscars really seriously, and I don't say it out loud very often because people think I'm crazy when I do say it. And so I take notes, I do everything, and so I like to be alone at home on Oscar night. I went to an Oscar party.
Are you nuts?
I am nuts. I've been to a couple of Oscar parties, and I did not have a good time because I wasn't at home taking my notes and getting, and for those who don't know, I can recite all the Oscars from 1928 on. Wow. And so this, for Lily to get nominated was a big deal to me, too. So I'm glad you went, and I'm glad that we were represented. But if I would have I wanted to go just to say hi and come back, but then I would have missed a couple of awards in between there, getting over there and getting back. So it's not going to work for me. And that is the end of my report. And let's see. Next is new business. Does anyone have any new business? Councilmember Woodard.
I'll keep it quick. One, I just wanted to note I was at the Access as well, and thank you for bringing that up. And we've talked about youth and youth violence. Really, that's what that's about. So if this council was interested in having an update from that group, I'm sure we can arrange that. You know, quite a few Mountlake Terrace folks are a part of that. Bethesda, with Pastor Heidi as a part of this group. Myself and William were on the board for this organization. And it's just getting its sea legs under it. But I say that to pause and say how I mentioned this morning that I was with middle schoolers. Well, it was actually middle schoolers and high schoolers in the very beginning. So imagine this auditorium, and it's students of color, and it's probably about 800 or so. And the keynote asked them the question, why do you think youth are so depressed right now? Anybody willing to give an honest answer? And the young man clearly had a click, and he answered it for the group through a microphone because they don't have anyone to talk to. And I'm sure he thought he was going to get to do some more stuff, but the keynote took it away and said, how many of you can feel that? And I swear to you, not a single hand stayed at its side. And if you've ever been in a room where that many people collectively acknowledge a pain point, that is unreal. But it was so real. And so as we're talking, I do want to say to Rick, thank you, Councilmember Ryan. I stay up at night too thinking about these things. I think we all do. And do want to let everybody know that there are lots of organizations trying to do stuff and some folks trying to create new stuff as well and bringing it all together. So Access Project actually isn't a new project. It's bringing all of those folks together who already do this work. So if you really wanted to see just kind of who the original folks are, you can look at my page. And we actually have a slide that lists some of the original folks. I think we missed some folks, but it shows you some of these powerful organizations that are doing great work, but do it over here. And just like we have these little sections, they're just doing it in their section. Even though we know everybody, we love everybody, but we actually do our work separately, because of funding and all of that stuff. We're trying to break that down and say, let's just focus on the community. So in that regard, just wanted to put that out there, that if you really want to hear more about it, I absolutely assure you, you can get some folks in this room.
Anyone else? We're going to be out of here before 10. All right, so next on our agenda is adjournment. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Recording stopped.